Hi, friends. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I'm just going to be really upfront from the beginning. I'm having a hard time looking at my face in this video. I um, I do this every time, and I have yet to, it just takes time for us to learn things, doesn't it? But anyway, I had some Botox done on my forehead, and I miss my eyebrows that used to look like this because now they look like an angry bird. It's literally what I told my friend. I'm like, I look like an angry bird. And she was like, oh, I don't think anyone notices that kind of stuff. But, I think it's good for us not to give a shit about what we look like, but yet it's kind of like, wow, I even like did this to myself. I chose to have a smooth forehead, but then look really angry. So anyway, that I talk about that a little bit on my latest podcast episode that I think went out yesterday, in case you all are interested in hearing a little bit about, or I don't know, maybe resonating with just like getting older and the process of that and what we like let go of and not care about anymore. And not that I don't really believe I choose that. I believe that just kind of happens with time, but clearly I'm still letting go of this one. And maybe this will be the last time. I don't know. I kind of like my foreheady wrinkles and I like my wide eyes, and I just need to, I think, just step into that space of being like aging is happening, and it's going to happen. And you know, fighting it is sometimes painful. So anyway, I might even, yeah, maybe I just need to like look at myself this whole time and just feel what that feels like. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today, today is my 3 year, well, it's not today because I'm recording and it's Monday, but when you're hopefully watching this or whenever you watch it, it will have already been like my 3 year alcohol-free anniversary. And well, I don't know how it feels. It just kind of feels like a normal day. But the video happens to fall on this day, so I thought I'd share that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about something I've actually already written about on Substack, but look, I hair in my mouth. Um, but I spoke about it on a podcast recently, and then I really had to dig into the research to do that podcast. Because I wanted to feel like I knew enough about it. And there's a whole another kind of thing to look at there, right? Like over preparing for things when we sort of already know stuff. But I did have to prepare for this a little bit because I didn't truly know all of this stuff. And but now that I did that work, I felt like I would share it with you all here too. I will share the podcast when it comes out as well. But the conversation is about what happens to our body with time after not drinking alcohol. And I remember early on in my alcohol-free journey being very interested in that because clearly there's things that we see and feel. And I think that those things that we feel are more important than anything else, because feelings are information. And if I was feeling more rested, or if I was feeling more confident, or if I was safe to feel the feelings I was feeling, if I could sit through boredom, if I could be with anger, if I could be with loneliness or not enoughness or shame and not have to use alcohol not to feel that, that is really the best kind of information that we can get. But there's things happening in this invisible way that we might not necessarily know, like how much like buildup of kind of fatty tissue is in our liver if we have been a drinker or a heavier drinker, whatever. I mean, even moderate drinking, this can happen. Like, what are some of those maybe invisible things that we don't even know are happening? And I was very curious about that too, because anything that I can learn about related to how my body is doing better and like healing from the process of alcohol consumption, I just found that to be really valuable. So we're going to kind of take it with time. And I also just want to say that these are all like generalizations, depending upon how much one was drinking and how long they had been drinking. how these things unfold with our healing happens at different times. So I'm kind of speaking in a general way, but if you're really curious about what this might look like for you personally, you probably have to dig into your own kind of health work a little bit more deeply, for you. But I also, something that I think is really important in the process of giving up alcohol, or as I should better say it, reaping the gifts of living an alcohol-free life, is to connect with really what matters to you. And what mattered to me a lot in the beginning was like my brain function. I value a clear mind. I value a mind where my prefrontal cortex can feel more regulated, and I'm not kind of living in more of that reactive space. And I value I don't know this yet, but I value like what lies ahead in terms of trying to have as much like risk from cognitive decline with aging as much as possible. So, and that was always really scared of me. Like when I was drinking, the stuff that would like trigger me the most was like thinking about brain cells dying, like the toxicity to the brain. I did not want to look at that. I did not want to look at that at all because that was like fucking scary. Like, oh my God, I'm doing long-term damage here. But like the really cool thing that I think we get when we quit alcohol is like these things come back. I mean, how I'm like, I'm getting choked up, thinking about how awesome that is. Yeah. But we get this stuff back. That's such a gift. And so let's just start kind of like with that first month. And I think the first month is probably the month that will vary the most for us. But um, I definitely like sleep improved. And I wrote about sleep on Monday. And when we drink, it might help us like fall asleep kind of quickly, but then we get woken up by the alcohol. Or even if we happen to sleep through the night, we don't sleep well. We don't have the rapid eye movements. Like research shows like when alcohol is had, like we lose 20 to 40% of the ability to have that REM kind of like restorative sleep cycle. And God, with age, I mean, maybe in the 20s it wasn't that big of a deal. 30s I could manage, but like once we hit 40s, like whoa, alcohol really messed with sleep. So um sleep improved. And I talked about this in my story too. Like it wasn't like overnight, even within the year, it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm sleeping so much better. Like I've been working on sleep for quite some time. And I do sleep really great now. I mean, I have to wake up to pee in the middle of the night and stuff, but for the most part, I always am able to go to sleep really well and sleep well. I feel so rested. Um, and so yeah, I think like when we're getting better sleep, everything improves. If that was the one thing that improved, it has such a ripple effect, like and now I was like, wow, nothing is getting in the way of me hitting the gym or going for a walk, or I don't feel hungover, I just feel so great. And even if I was tired because like say a kid hopped in my bed or I stayed up late because I went to a party but I always felt so much better knowing, yeah, I might be tired, but at least I won't be hungover and tired, And so that's awesome. You know, you really it's like you're able to be more consistent with stuff you just want to be consistent with. And I don't know what you want to be consistent with, but I know I want to be consistent with or I think I can be consistent. I it's just there's more availability, there's more capacity when you sleep better and when alcohol doesn't get in the way. So within the first month, we should see that sleep improves. We should also see that mood improves too, and that comes with better sleep, but that also comes with just not having the negative side effects that come from with alcohol because like like said in previous pieces, when I gave up alcohol, I wasn't even drinking that much, but I was spending so much energy thinking about it. Like, oh, how much am I going to drink tonight? And like, what should I have? What kind of drink will give me the biggest buzz with the least amount of alcohol? Like all that kind of stuff. I was just like, and then if I didn't get it right, I would beat myself up. So when that is gone, when none of that, like thinking about how much and what is it going to look like, and then oh, giving yourself a pat on the back if you got it right, and giving yourself shit if you didn't get it right, like there's a lot of energy going towards that. So when that's gone, there's some freedom there too, and you don't have the depressive effects that alcohol does for us. So our hormonal function is beginning very slowly to improve. Those stress hormones, I mean, alcohol, even moderate alcohol causes stress hormones to go up. So, we're starting to see those hormones regulate a little bit better. And when those are regulated a little bit better, we feel better. So, yeah, mood. We are working with a body that is not dehydrated, I mean, alcohol, when you drink alcohol, you're taking in fluids, so you're actually getting some hydration, believe it or not, but there's the acute diuretic or dehydrating effects of alcohol. And so that can make us feel tired, that can make us feel bloated and puffy and just kind of gross. And so that goes away too. And then for anyone who has, I can't remember who I was listening to, but there was like a woman who was sharing a story with me about how she was like normal height and weight, for whatever the so-called, healthy weight is and height, whatever, you know what I mean? I don't like to get caught up in all that stuff, but um, not the typical, like we think that when someone has high blood pressure, that there's other things kind of going wrong. And a lot of times it's associated with overweight. And this person had all the normal things, but because she was drinking so much, she had always came in with high blood pressure. And her doctor was like, "Well, I don't understand why you have high blood pressure." And, when she shared that she was drinking alcohol, or I don't know if she shared it with her doctor, but basically, when she stopped drinking alcohol, her blood pressure improved. And um, we know even there was a study done in men, and it was done in a group of people who were men who were heavier drinkers, and at the time of the study, 42% of those people had hypertension or high blood pressure. And then after a month of not drinking, that 42% went to 12%. So if blood pressure or heart health is something that is important to you, then that's definitely going to be something that happens too. And we also see blood sugar regulation improve. Like when we drink alcohol in the morning, you feel like you want something greasy, or you want something to, like, you just want that quick hit that's going to make you feel better. And we might have cravings for things that tend to be higher in sugar. And when we give up the alcohol, the hunger and fullness hormones start working better, especially with better sleep. Insulin, the hormone that helps pull in glucose, insulin sensitivity improves. We don't have, maybe, depending upon how you're feeling your body and how you're eating, you might not have those really large peaks and valleys of blood sugars without alcohol. So that's all in the first month. I almost just want to stop there because I feel like I've been talking too much, and like maybe next meeting we'll talk about what happens in the next 2 to 3 months. I think I'm going to do that actually. I think maybe the next video we'll talk about what happens like in the next 2 to 3 months, just to keep this from getting too long. And but that's so, and maybe this is good information too. If any of you all are here and you're still drinking alcohol, which is totally great and fine and all good, this, I feel like things fall away when they fall away. And I truly don't believe I have control over that. So that's just a way that I see life. I see life that things happen when they happen. And kind of there's something, I don't know. Yeah, I just think that we aren't necessarily always in control of those things. So anyway, I what I was getting at with that long wavering conversation is that dry January. So people who are trying on dry January for size, those are all things that might happen for you in the first 30 days, and that's incredible. Wow, so many gifts. And we can talk about what to do after that first 30 days. The woman who I did the podcast with, Casey Davidson. I can't remember. I think she's got a hyphenated name, but she encourages people to go beyond 30 days and go to 100 days and just give that, a try because there's a lot more that can happen. So if you are trying dry January, at the end of dry January, at the time, it will occur to you or not occur to you whether or not you want to keep going. And that's all good. Okay, thanks for letting me cry. Thanks for letting me talk about my Angry Bird eyebrows and talking about what happens in the first month. There's a lot of gifts to be received, and what a wonderful holiday time to be able to notice those things. All right, thanks for being here, sisters. Thanks for supporting this work. Thanks for being a paid subscriber. I really, really appreciate you kind of making space for me to be able to do this with your contributions.